the emergency. Okay, stay on the phone. I need to get you through to medical. Don't hang up. Ma'am, who shot him? Ma'am, you said the mother.
Yeah, so if we're not trained with medical, then we contract out with our county, so we would transfer over, or depending on what it is, we would stay on the phone with the victim and call fire. I mean, it's not always black and white. We might just call fire and say, hey, we need you to stage. We have a gunshot victim. And they would stage because we don't know who the suspect is, if they're still there, if there's a threat to the fire department. And then we'll call them back and say, okay, you guys are clear to roll in and go help the victim. Other times, if it's the actual gunshot victim or the person's there with the gunshot victim and they need to render aid right away, then we'll transfer them over so that fire can start giving them direction. And then we'll interject with questions if we need to before the units get there.
Gunshot victim, 3243 Woods Mill. Okay. Hello, ma'am. Ma'am. No, please.
I don't know if maybe she hung up and she called back, or sometimes our keypads are right there and maybe she meant to mute it so she could say something to her partner and hit like an outside line and it just opened up and dialed like an extension really quick. That does happen, so I'm not really sure.
Did they say how many people were shot? She just said the father was, and she said several times that he may be dead. I'm going to stay on the line. Nobody's talking to me.
Yeah, so you would try to differentiate maybe how many different voices you have in there, or maybe like age groups, so you can hear some kids in the background yelling for their dad. You still hear the one lady who called you. I want to say I heard a man's voice in there also. So you just kind of you just put in what you're hearing. And if it's just an open line, you could just say, hey, it's just an open line, multiple people heard talking kind of thing. And then you just have to stay on the phone all the time because you never know what you're going to hear, who might come to the phone. And yeah, it's frustrating for everybody all around because we can't get, help is on its way, but we can maybe help better direct the help or, lighten maybe some of the trauma or make sure the kids are away, get them away from their dad so they don't have to keep seeing that. But yeah, it's just frustrating. There's only so much we can do, and this is one of those calls. Yeah, so if I was putting myself in her shoes, I would be typing, the kids are telling daddy not to shoot mommy. The dad is saying that he loves her, that they're still yelling, screaming, still nobody coming to the phone, that kind of thing. That they're saying don't shoot anyone else. So more than likely this person still has the gun with him.
Is anybody there? Mommy! Please come help me, please. Please. Please.
Come on, shoot me in the head. Come on, baby. Come on, shoot me in the head.
Jesus.
Come on, baby.
Oh, Jesus.
Come on, baby.
Come on.
Yeah, you got it. You all right, baby? Can you do it?
Yeah, I mean it's hard, especially when there's kids, because you know what he's subjecting them to, and you can hear how terrified they are, and you know they don't want him to get hurt, even though he just did something horrible, and they want to protect their mom, and it sounds like he's suicidal, and it sounds like he's trying to get one of his kids to shoot him, which in my opinion makes him even more of a freaking monster. So there's just a lot of frustration going on. Like, you want to help those little babies, you want to protect them, you want to help the mom. You're probably getting a little bit more ticked off at the dad. But there's only so much we can do. And she did check in and say, hey, is there anybody there, just to see if they'd listen. And it's one of those things where, too, you don't want to, like, you want to ask and check, but you don't want to be too pushy about it either, because there have been times where if the suspects hear that the police are listening, or they forget and then they remember, that might trigger them and set them off a little bit more, and know, like, okay, my time with this family is coming to an end. So if he is in this suicidal, like, stage, he might take himself out, take the kids out, take the wife out. And so you also don't want to kind of trigger that also. So it's just one of those things, you kind of got to get a feel for it, and you can push, or you can just kind of listen and just let the officers know what's going on in the background.
Please, baby. Please, baby.
Melbourne police arrived on the scene just after 3 o'clock on New Year's Day after receiving a call from the neighbor, Phil McMahon. He reported that he thought he had heard someone setting off fireworks until moments later. Father showed up at his doorstep, holding his hip where he had been shot, saying that he had been shot, and urged Phil to call 911.
911, have an emergency. What's your location of emergency? Yeah, come in. Yes, 3231. Woodmill Drive. Come quick. Okay, we're getting multiple calls from that location. Are you there now? Yes, I'm there now.
So I don't know if this is like a smaller agency, but we see what calls are pending. And for something like that, we put in, at least at my agency, we put in, if there's another caller or another witness, their name and phone number. And, you know, if they have more information to give, we'll put all that information into a call, so we'll know. Mine is a smaller center, so we're you know, our lines are lighting up, and we have caller ID. So we'll see, like, oh, they're calling again, or they're calling from the same street, or they're calling from the same block, that kind of thing. So we'll kind of already know. But we still have to make sure, like, is this what you're calling about? Because it could be completely irrelevant what they're calling about. It could be somebody calling about a friggin' car blocking their driveway, and it just so happens they call at the time that, like, it's hitting the fan. So we always have to make sure. But yeah, we're able to tell if there's multiple calls because we have to document it.
Witness the shooting? Yes. District 7 to go. Okay, we got police and fire going. Are you with the person now? They went to my house, but I've been there. House, but you're on the call. And I don't know if they, who's there. Are you at the house? I'm in the other house. It happened next door. Okay. So you're not there. Who exactly was shot? Do you know? No, I didn't. I got shot. Like, come quick. It's 3231. Okay. Yeah, they're coming quick, sir. I got them on the way. I'm just trying to get additional information. You're not there. You don't see anybody. No, my neighbor's there. There was next door, and this happened next door. I understand. Of my house. But you didn't see anything. You just know about it, correct? Yeah. I just walked briefly. There was a gentleman, and he's the one that was in there. I just hear shooting, and it was right next door. Okay. All right. Well, we've got police and fire coming to you, sir, and stay inside, away from where it's occurring. All right. Okay. Here. All right. Here. Yeah, they have to put pressure on it. Are you with the person now? I'm with two people that got shot. Two people got shot. Okay, I'm going to put you through the medical. They're going to give you assistance. Stay on the line with me. Don't hang up. Heard loud noises from gunshots next door. Didn't know what it was. Yeah, I know, man. They're coming. There's the daughters and there's other kids there. We don't know their status. But there was a gentleman that was the gun that was doing open fire. They shot two of my neighbors. They got shot near the hips. They're in the house here, but I don't know about the rest of the people.
How old is the one person that was shot?
Both of them are like 50, 60. Is that female or male?
They're unconscious?
Yeah, they're conscious. We're just putting pressure on the wounded area.
Okay, and do we know how many other people are inside the house?
It's a daughter and kids.
How many kids?
How many kids? Let me ask. Do you know how many?
So I don't know how the certain agencies work that have like a section for police and then a section for fire. I don't know if those calls get combined, so I can't answer that for those places. My place, like I said, we only do police. So when we transfer to fire, they have their own separate CAD call and system, and it doesn't translate into ours. So we can't see theirs, they can't see ours. We just have to communicate to each other. It sounds like maybe he stayed on the line when he transferred over, because all of a sudden, I mean, that guy was kind of all over the place with his information. You didn't really know what was going on. At first, it just seemed like he heard gunshots and now he's back at home. Okay, so we don't need to keep talking to you technically. And then he like sporadically says, "Oh, we're putting pressure on the wound." Like, okay, so now you have a victim with you. You failed to tell me that, but okay. And then stay on the line, but you still need to get him fire. So it sounded maybe like it was still an open line with the police, and they were letting fire do like more of the questions, and that's where we can hop on and say, "Hey, fire, can I ask a few more questions?" And they'll be okay, and they'll stay on the line and tell them what to do with the wounds or whatnot, or they'll disconnect because there's only so much they can do with a gunshot wound until fire gets there to actually start applying pressure and taking care of the victim. So yeah, that caller was a little bit all over the place.
Who was there? How many? You're asking how many kids? A daughter and two children.
Two kids?
And it was actually her husband doing it.
Okay. All right. And you said you do direct pressure on the two people that were shot?
Yes. One is sitting down. The other gentleman, he should sit down, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're at your house? They're both at your house, but the shooting next door, is that correct?
Correct.
According to the police report, 39-year-old William Brian Stillwell crashed a small family gathering with a 9mm semi-automatic pistol and began to shoot. Both Mona's parents, Robert and Naima Snellgrove, were shot. Robert had been shot in the groin, and Naima was shot in the abdomen and the elbow. All three victims were transported to the nearest hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The couple's 2 5-year-old children were in the home at the time and witnessed the ordeal but were not injured. In the initial 911 call made by Mona, one of the twin children can be heard begging their father to put down the gun and pleading, "I don't want any of you to die."
Yeah, it's just, these are one of the ones that are kind of really hard to, I think one of the hardest ones to listen to, because there's very little information to go off of. You hear so much chaos, and for me, like, you know, kids is always a hard one for me. So hearing them pleading with an adult who's supposed to be their caretaker and their protector, and he's putting them not only in danger, that he's traumatizing them, he's shot their grandparents, and now he's telling the kid, or maybe it was telling the mom, to, you know, pull the trigger and kill him too. It's just really frustrating. And you also know that you're sending your officers into something like that where this person is completely unhinged and suicidal. So you don't know if, okay, since it didn't work with the family, maybe he'll want to do suicide by cop kind of thing. And it's just one of those calls that, you know, the hair on the back of your neck stands up, and you're just praying for the best outcome, that nobody else gets hurt. And you don't want to hear that on the phone either. If he like executes the family or even himself, you know, that's something that sits with us for the rest of our life. It's something that we don't forget. It's, you know, we still hear those screams and the children crying and that kind of thing. And it's something that never goes away. So those types of calls are always very hard. I think the dispatcher did the best that she could, just staying on the phone. And I'm sure she was putting into the call what they heard. And then with the second caller, they got a little bit more information on how many victims they had, how many people were in the house. So yeah, sometimes we just hope that other people do call, because our number one caller isn't giving us the information that we need. So.